All right, guys. Sorry for the delay. I had to figure out my husband got a new computer and it's a new setup and the lighting is not great. I have the thing, the window right behind me. All that light coming through is not the best, but we're going to make it work. Let me know if you can hear me. I had to set the microphone and everything. Okay, we're going to make this work. Just a second. Let me check my video settings. I'm going to do some of these, adjust for low light. What is this portrait lighting? Oh, let's try this. Oh, it blurs out the background. Oh, I don't like that. It makes my hair look wonky. Let's turn that off. All right, so we did that. All right. Hey, Rachel, let me know if you can hear me okay. Okay, there we go. All right, so I hurriedly threw an outline together while I was on old fashioned. Here we go, like old school, old fashioned old school, while I was doing Kelly's school with her. So while I was sitting there and in between her reading to me, I threw this together today. So we're going to talk about focusing on the most important facts of raising kids today. I truly believe, thanks. Yes, look at the picture wall. Okay, so funny story about the picture wall. My husband just redid his office. This is the office. He moved into a bigger room. And that back picture wall, yesterday, I hadn't really seen like he did. He hung. Now, he didn't hang it up that way. I actually did that last night. But we walked in and Rachel and we just started dying laughing because, so those are like 13 or 14 years, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 years. We don't have this year's up from 2025. Those are 13 years of Easter pictures. So starting from the first year that we started the church, this one right here, like right there, that's the first one. But notice all the frames are different because every year we've gotten different frames, And so he had I don't even know how to describe it. It was like it started in a line and it slowly went down. And then these spaces, which now this one's a little too big, but these spaces, which are kind of, semi close to being, he had this picture, touching this picture. And then this line was kind of going down. It was crazy. He was like, that's how we've always done it. And I said, babe, just let me do it. So I took it all down last night after church while he was doing the deposit slip and all that. And then, I did up, down, kind of a semi pattern. And then we need more room for all the years of Easter pictures coming up. So it definitely looks better. I just sent a picture to Rachel and she was like, you should have done a before and after of before wife and after wife, because it looks much better now that I got my hands on it. And I told Rachel, I said, this is why I decorate my entire house. Like my husband, a lot of wives, they ask their husband to hang pictures. No, I hang everything in my house. He doesn't touch anything when it comes to the house. So just a little tidbit about us. Of course, he has his, deer head. He hung that just fine, but he wasn't trying to hang multiple deer heads. So it worked. Oh, but yeah, that is a very special wall for us because it's really cool seeing all the additions with the kids. And then a couple years, we do have some that weren't there on Easter. And so, like Tommy was at college one year. I think this year, I feel like we did have everyone here. I can't remember. So we need to get our Easter pictures up from this year. It's actually, it's one of my favorite ones. So he really needs to print that off and get that up there. But anyways, we are going to be talking about focusing on the most important facts of raising kids today. I think that a lot of parents, obviously, most of the moms that watch this show, they do watch because they want to raise good kids, right? That's a desire of all of us. That is something that most Christians want. They want to raise, first and foremost, kids who love the Lord, kids who love them, and then also kids who want to choose this way of life. Because if you're a Christian like I am, you truly do, at least I do. I truly believe that this is the best life available. I believe that it's a life full of joy and happiness, and one that is absent of a lot of regrets and different things. Looking back on my life, obviously we all have regrets, but given the fact that I was raised in a Christian home, my mom and dad were saved when I was 1, and then I was saved when I was 4. And so I've always been around the things of God, around the things of the Lord, in church, all those things. And because of that, it helped me make good choices, what I would consider good choices for my life, such as purity, purity until I was married, my husband and I being the only ones that have ever been with each other. Um, Staying true to each other for almost 25 years, having lots of kids, raising those kids in church, and now seeing the next generation also being raised in church. And that was kind of our goal when we first got married. But me being around that, I'm free from a lot of the regrets that a lot of people struggle with getting saved later in life. Maybe they weren't pure when they got married and they have, baggage from past relationships or whatever. They were heavily involved in alcohol or drugs, and maybe it messed up part of their brain, or the drugs had an effect on them, or whatever it is. People have regrets, right? And so I live my life. I'm able to live my life in freedom, not having the bondage from regrets. And I don't believe that you should. My husband preached a good message last week, I believe, about dealing with regret. And I don't think that you should just like live your life in misery. I have all these regrets. I definitely think you need to deal with them and move on. But I want my kids to be able to live life in freedom as well. And that's one of the whole reasons we named our church Liberty Baptist Church, because we truly believe that the Christian life is one full of liberty. So lots of women come to my channel looking for advice on child rearing. And while I don't have all the answers, none of us do. And as each year goes on, I feel like I know less about raising kids. There are some things that we had the intention of seeing accomplished when we got married and started having kids. And now it's coming to fruition. We're seeing those things accomplished. We're seeing all the good stuff that comes from just being intentional about your goals and working towards those goals and staying on the same path for those goals. Lots of people have good intentions starting out, but life throws curveballs at them, and they get off the path and they start doing things. Oh, this is too hard, I'm giving up. You can't give up. You got to stay the course. You got to stay the path. You got to keep with it. And believe me, someday you're going to reap the rewards from that. So my number one piece of advice for anyone that is looking to get married or start a family is obviously talk about your beliefs before you have kids. And when I'm talking about this, I'm not even just talking about like both of you being saved, both of you wanting to raise them in church, but how many kids do you want? That's a big choice. Does your husband want to basically leave that in God's hand? And, which is great. It's great for a lot of families that choose that. I will say though, it's better to trust your husband's leadership when it comes to this subject, especially. Obviously, I don't believe in any abortifacients, if that's how you say it. I don't believe in anything that will cause an abortion, but there are methods that you can use that I don't believe are morally wrong. And you need to know if your husband doesn't want to use those, if he does. And then sometimes just keep in mind this can change after you get married. Maybe you have a lot of health problems. Maybe, your husband's feeling overwhelmed with having to provide for 5 children in 5 years, and you are about to mentally break. And he's like, we need to take a small break. We need to allow your body to heal. We need to, just basically give you time so that you're here for the long haul, right? Because the goal is that you're here to raise all those kids and to be here forever. So just keep those things in mind. And I firmly believe when you marry someone that you need to trust his leadership when it comes to all aspects. And I do believe that a lot of married women, especially in the fundamentalist sect, in this, I'm trying to fix this microphone, it's not working. In this, branch of fundamentalism, or whatever you want to call it, I do believe that some women have a tendency to make child rearing or childbearing into a sort of idol. It's like a status thing, like, oh, I have all these kids, and so I'm like up on the status, whatever. How many kids you have doesn't improve your status or lower your status. Sometimes God gives families lots of kids. Sometimes he doesn't give you very many. That doesn't make you better than someone else dependent on the kids that you have. And so you need to be submissive to your husband in all areas. And that includes if he wants you to take a break for a little bit when it comes to having kids. Um, I've seen a lot of women that claim submission, but when it comes to this area of how many kids we're going to have, they take full control and they will not listen to their husband. Even if he is trying to be a leader and he's like, listen, I'm looking out for your mental health. I'm looking out for your physical health. We need to take a small break, not using any type of methods that will kill a fertilized egg. I always put that disclaimer in there, just follow your husband's lead in all areas. You can say you're submissive in word, but then be completely opposite in action. So, and strong, independent women can also want to love and honor the Lord, and by following his word. And, the Bible says to reverence your husband, and he is the leader. So that comes to putting aside your will, your wants for the time being, and really trusting your husband's leadership and following him in all areas. So, but I would definitely talk about the beliefs before you have kids. Is he someone who only wants one or two? That could be a deal breaker. For my husband and I, when we got married, thankfully we both said we wanted 10 kids. And we actually ended up with 11. I've had 11 positive pregnancy tests. We had one very early miscarriage and 2 later miscarriages. So we have 8 earthside. So God gave us one above what we wanted. And I'm very happy and very content with that. And my husband has always been on board. And I'm telling you, I would have babies until I was 60 if my body allowed it. I love babies. I love having kids. I love having a huge family. God has really given me the desire of my heart when it came to a big family, and I wouldn't change it. I wish I could have kids until God called me home. But a woman's body is not designed that way. I'm in perimenopause now. I'm almost 45. And I think that time has passed. And so knowing that I could live the rest of my life, looking back and, oh, I wish I could have had more, and bemoaning that fact. But I've learned with each season of life to just go through it gracefully and accept it. And you'll be a whole lot happier if you do that, if you're just content and you are content with what God has given you, the blessings he has given you, and you enjoy those blessings and you don't sit around in misery because you weren't able to have more blessings. And that comes from anyone, that goes for anyone that only has one child, that goes for someone who has 8, but maybe wanted 12, whatever season or point you're at in your life, just learn to be content. So have common goals when it comes to having kids. Before you get married, know what his goals are. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to, how many kids do you want? How do you want to raise our kids? And my husband and I talked about all of this before we got married. We talked about every single one of these things. And like I said, we both we wanted a large family. And that was just given. So when we got married, his dad had always said, if you're not ready to have kids, you're not ready to get married, because when you get married, kids usually comes along with marriage. So we really took that to heart. And 3 weeks after we got married, 3 or 4 weeks after we got married, I got pregnant. So I was pregnant a month into our marriage, and we had Tommy a month early, and he was born 9 months later to the day that we had gotten married. So we took that very seriously. And then Jason came along 12 and a half months after Tommy did. So it was always our desire to have a lot of kids, to have them as soon as we were able to. And then for some people that might look differently. It took Tommy and Jenna 1.5 years to be able to get pregnant. And Tommy was born shortly after, I believe, their second wedding anniversary. Some people, they have honeymoon babies. So I am a firm believer in talking about that before you get married and then leaving it in God's hands, whatever you decide. So our common goals when we got married, we knew that when and if God blessed us with children, we would educate them ourselves, whether that was at the time, the church that we were in had a small ACE Christian school. It was it was a big room like this, a little bit bigger than this room, but then they had desks or cubicles all the way around. And the only teachers was my husband. He eventually went full time and he was the principal And then moms would volunteer and come in, and they would be like the ones, kind of just keep making sure the kids were doing their school and all the stuff. So um, we knew they would either be in just the small Christian school that we had at the church, or we would homeschool them. Now, my first few kids I would teach them kindergarten. So I would teach them how to read. And then when they knew how to read, when they went to first grade, they would go to the Christian school there that my husband was at every day. And it was really nice because we lived right by the church at that time. So they would literally just walk over. And it's almost like a one room homeschool with the other church families, and then the moms volunteering. And then my husband was there every day. So they went from that to when we moved here to start the church. Was it 13 years ago, 14 years ago? I lose track. I think it's 14. When we moved here to start the church, I started homeschooling them. So I've been homeschooling my kids now for 14 years. And it's not too much different than what we were doing before. But we always knew that public school would never be an option. And we just decided that from the day that we got married. The other important thing was that I would be a stay-at-home mom. And we always determined that. So from the time that we've gotten married, we've lived on one income primarily, and it's been tough. We've been a rice and beans family. If you watch Dave Ramsey, you know what that means. We've been a rice and beans family since the day we got married. Things have always been tight, but God has always provided. We've never been late on a bill in almost 25 years of marriage. Not because we didn't have the funds. There's been a couple times where I've forgotten something was due. But then I paid it as soon as I remembered. So we've never been late on a bill because we didn't have the funds there. God has always provided. We've always been able to tithe during those years, 10%. So we're living off of one income, and we're only living off 90% of it because 10% of it we tithe. So that has always been a priority for us. And we knew it from the first day that we got married. And then obviously we wanted to raise our kids in church. So not only will you and your husband have goals for your home and for your children, but your husband will have unique goals for you as his wife. And this is going to look different across the board. Now, I've listened to a lot of crazy preachers over the last few years that have a very low view on women in general. And they like to preach a lot of messages at women. And they kind of have like a one size fits all mentality. And they also kind of broad brush. So like, no man likes this. No man wants you to do this. No man does this. Well, I cry foul. I don't think that's true, because my husband's different than your husband, and your husband's different than Steve, and Steve is different than Bob, and Bob is different than Jim. All husbands are different. And all husbands want different things from their wives. Some husbands have different priorities and different things. My husband has different priorities than yours does. So I'm going to tell you some of my husband's priorities for me just to give you an example. But that is not some checklist for you to have and be like, Cassandra McMurtry's husband wants her to do this, so now I'm going to implement this in my life. Please don't do that. I would suggest just having a conversation with your husband and asking him, what do you want? What's most important to you? Like when you come walking in the door, what do you want to see? And I posed this question to my husband before. When you come in the door, do you want to see a house perfectly clean, but me in sweats, no makeup, my hair's in a messy bun? What would you rather see? Or would you rather come in and I'm dressed, I'm presentable, my hair and makeup are done, but the house might be a little, messy in some areas. And he likes to see me looking nice. That's a priority for him. And so these preachers that are like, no husband likes that, a husband would rather like this. Well, maybe you would, but you're not speaking for Tommy McMurtry, because Tommy McMurtry's priorities are different for me than yours are different for your wife. And I think part of that is just what husbands are used to. Okay. So from day one, since the time I was a teenager, actually, I don't feel like 100% Cassandra McMurtry if I'm not presentable. Okay. So what do I mean by presentable? I'm not one of these moms who just lives in sweats. I get up every morning and I brush my teeth and wash my face and do my hair, and I get dressed in the outfit of the day. So jean skirt, sweater. Today I'm wearing a mod skirt and boots and a sweater. Okay. I just feel my best when I, at a moment's notice, can run to town if I need to, if someone comes to the door and I'm not totally embarrassed. And literally, my hair took me 2 seconds today. I have natural curly hair, and I washed it yesterday. And on day two, I put it up in a messy bun when I go to bed at night. I literally took the messy bun out, tipped my hair upside down, kind of shook it out, and stuck a headband in. And it looks like this. That's what I did to get ready. My makeup takes me about 10 minutes. So I'm taking 15, 20 minutes a day to look presentable and feel my best. And that's important to me. And I've been doing that since day one. And so my husband, if he comes home and I don't look that way, he thinks I'm sick. And usually it is because I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm not feeling well. It's just so out of character for me. And that's what he's used to. If your husband likes messy buns and sweats, by all means, wear messy bun and sweats, but he might have different priorities. So his priority for me is, number one, he just wants a happy wife. He wants a happy wife. He wants a content wife. He literally couldn't care less if the house is a little messy and I'm happy. But if the house is pristine and everything is perfect, but I am stressed out of my mind, he would rather have me happy and calm. And that's his priority. So he wants me to be happy. He wants me to be content. And he wants happy kids. He wants to come home to a peaceful home. He doesn't want to come home to a war zone. He doesn't want to come home to kids fighting and screaming and me losing my mind and screaming and, just chaos and war and confusion. And those are his two main priorities: happy wife and happy kids. Another priority of his is he wants school done. And he has been like this since we got married. He said, I've seen too many pastors' kids, especially when we started the church. He said, I've seen too many pastors' kids and too many missionary kids who get way behind on school. I don't want our kids to get behind on school. So, top priority every year, they're getting through their school year. Now, with ACE, there's 12 booklets in each core subject that they do. There's 5 core subjects. And then we do electives as well. So I do literature for all my kids from the time that they're in 2nd or 3rd grade. They do literature, which I like because they have companion books. And so they're getting reading in there as well. And then when they're in junior high and high school, they're doing electives like music, speech, art, a different language, and then Bible electives, New Testament, Old Testament, biblical studies, Proverbs. They do Illinois Heritage, which is like a state history that they go through. And so I do electives with my kids. So it's top priority that they get through each school year. That's just a non-negotiable in my house. And most days we're doing school. We're not one of these families where it's hit and miss, like 1 day a week, 2 day a week. No, I'm very regimented when it comes to you're getting school done, you're doing school. So school is very important for him. It's reading, our kids reading well. That is a high priority for him. So knowing that really is a motivator for me, making sure that I'm teaching my kids to read and that they're reading well. And I'm telling you, if you homeschool, that needs to be a priority, teaching to read well. If they can read, they can accomplish so much and they can go far. They don't need to be, doing every single math course, trigonometry and calculus and all these things. If they can read, they can learn. So make sure that your kids are good readers. And then also, he does like dinner. It's very rare that we will order takeout for dinner. And I utilize my crock pot and my Instant Pot on the days that I teach, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. In fact, sometimes I think I do better on the days that I teach because I have to think ahead. And we do a lot of meals, like we'll do Taco Tuesday. I do homemade pizza, stir fry with chicken, some kind of Asian dishes with chicken are really easy to throw together. My husband's very happy if he's a meat, potatoes, and vegetable guy. So if I have meat, potatoes, rolls, and a vegetable, he is happy as a clam. So it's pretty easy to make dinner for him. So he does like to have dinner. Not so much breakfast. He's not one of these guys that wants me to get up and have coffee with him in the morning. He doesn't even drink coffee, but have coffee with him in the morning and then have a lunch because he's here all day until like 4 or 5. He's not even here right now. I don't know where he is, but he does like coming home to dinner. He does like having a dinner, and he likes to eat early. So because of that, I've adapted my life to that way. We're not late night eaters. He hates eating late at night. So we've adapted. Now, my best friend, her husband likes eating late at night. So she's used to that. And we have different homes and we have different ways that we run our homes. And that's totally fine. So find out what your husband likes and then do it. And then he likes the house presentable within reason. I do keep a pretty clean house. A pretty clean house where I wouldn't be mortified if people stopped by or they surprised me. Just a couple of weeks ago when the O'Hagans showed up, I wasn't totally mortified. It wasn't actually that bad when they stopped by. So it looks lived in. Definitely. I am not one of these like white glove type people where like we dust every week. And first of all, I don't keep a lot of things that you need to dust because I've really cut back. I used to have a lot more. And when I was younger, I did have a schedule. Like I was the only one doing the cleaning. So I had a weekly chore list. Every week I was doing the dusting and I was doing the little jobs. And I'm not so much like that anymore. I've cut way back though. We don't have very many cluttery things that need to be dusted. So we have my one cabinet full of precious moments and they get dusted maybe once a year because the doors close on them. So, but that's like literally the only thing that's not sittable furniture in my living room. So I don't have a lot of things out that collect dust that much. But yeah, when it comes to chores, the thing that is most important to him is having clean laundry. And he doesn't even care if it's in a basket of clean clothes. He just wants the laundry done. And that's the only time he seems irritated is if I get really behind on the laundry. So I try to keep up with that at least 1 or 2 loads a day. And that's I can keep up with it. So those are his priorities for me. And then number 6, lastly, he does want me to have some stuff I can do on my own. He likes me to have time to work out. He likes me, he's really encouraged me to do things like writing and, because that's one of my pastimes. And then all my piano students, he loves that I have, lots of piano students and he knows that that's important for me. And so it's important to him. So that's some of our priorities, but what are some things that we focused on with our kids? And we're going to kind of go over things that are important to focus on with your kids, things that are not important, and ways that you can make this happen. Okay. So when we started having children, we really had some goals for them. And obviously, our number one goal was that they would know Christ. We wanted them to know Christ. We wanted them to love the Lord. We wanted them to see Christ in our life. We wanted them to know Christ. So that was our number one goal. We also wanted, especially we had 2 boys in a row right at the beginning. My husband was determined that they would be hardworking. And so from the time that they were little, he instilled a very hard work ethic in them. He spent a lot of time with them when they were little. He took them places. He had them mow the lawn with him. He had them outside picking up sticks. From the time they could toddle around, they were outside helping daddy pick up sticks. If that's all that they could do, he wanted them out there with him. He was very intentional about making sure that they were hardworking, and he raised 2 incredibly hardworking boys. And I credit him for that because boys need dads in their lives. They need dads to push them. They need dads to teach them not to be sissies. They need dads to, encourage them to do the hard things. And where I'm the more soft one when it comes to my boys. And I'm the sympathetic one. I'm the compassionate one. Dad is the one instilling that manliness in them. So, and he always had a good balance of knowing when pushing them was too far and when he needed to back off or when he needed to push them a little bit harder. He always had a really good balance. Obviously, he wasn't perfect in this area, but overall, he had a pretty good balance of that. And he raised 2 incredibly hardworking sons. And then also we wanted all of our kids to have character. We want all of our kids to have character. We're not quite done raising all of them yet. So that was very important to us. And then also kindness to others. We want them to exhibit kindness to others. We want them to show kindness to others. And we also raised them with a ministry mindset. Okay. The ministry is not just a business to us. It's not just a way for my husband to earn his paycheck. He didn't get in this for the money, first of all. And He didn't get in this for filthy lucre's sake. He didn't get in this to even make a name for himself. He got in this because he truly, genuinely cares for people. He loves people. I love women. I love people. I love investing in women. I love counseling women. I love giving them advice if they ask. I truly love to see people try to make their lives better. And if anything I can say can help them make their lives better, that's a win for both of us. So this is not just a business to us. This is, we have a heart for the people here. We love the people here. The church family, they're like our spiritual family, and they mean a lot to us. So we wanted to raise our children having that same mindset. And this is why we've encouraged, Chloe to work at the camp. And it really did start instilling in her a heart for others and a heart for serving. And we wanted her to have that. We want all of our kids to have that. But another thing that was important and is important to us is purity and innocence. We try to keep our kids as innocent as long and are as innocent as long as possible. And this might have looked like guarding their hearts, like not letting them have a smartphone until they were driving. When we went to bed at night with boys, I would have them put their phones up on the table, but not allow them to have their phones all night long. And I would turn off the Wi-Fi and different things like that. We put guards in our kids' lives so that they wouldn't be addicted to their phones. They wouldn't be on their phones and be tempted late at night when everyone else was sleeping. So purity and innocence, very important to us. So far, both of our boys and their brides were pure at the altar. Abby's headed that way too. And it has to be in their hearts to be that way, because if your kid wants to commit a sin, they will find a way to commit that sin. If it is a desire in them, they will figure out a way. When there's a will, there's a way, and kids will find a way. If it's not in their heart if they don't desire that as well, if they don't want to be pure, if they don't want to remain pure, they're going to find a way to sin. So what are some things we did to make sure that those things happened and are happening? Okay. So number one, we have a strong marriage. We're united. If we have a disagreement about something with the kids, we usually talk about it in private. But to the children, we present a united front. My kids know that if they come to me, oftentimes when they come to me and they ask me something, I will tell them, you have to ask your dad. Or I'll say, no, I don't think that's a good idea because dad wouldn't like that. Okay. So it all goes back to dad, what dad likes. The other day, my two adult daughters, they actually, they finally got their dad to consent to Chloe is 18 and a half, and none of my girls have pierced ears. I have pierced ears because I got it when I was 12. None of my girls do. My husband's really picky about that. And sometimes this is where, mom can be a gentle voice. And Chloe was asking to get her ears pierced. She's 18 and a half, guys. So, and I told my husband, I said, just very gently, I said, gently led. I said, we are really blessed with good kids. And the fact that Chloe is 18 and a half, still living at home, and she's simply asking to get her ears pierced. I said, babe, we could be dealing with her going out and trying to get tattoos, sneaking around with boys, trying to sneak away to parties to drink. I said, she just wants her ears pierced. And he was like, yeah, I know. So he consented, and she hasn't even done it yet. This was a few weeks ago. And then one of my other daughters, my 20-year-old, she wants highlights in her hair, just something. She's a brunette. She just kind of wants a few little highlights in her hair. And my husband, for me, he has nixed dyeing my hair. He does not want me to do it. And so I don't even ask. Like I wouldn't mind some highlights. I'm getting very, very gray. You can see white starting. And he has always told me just age gracefully. And I'm like, well, I'm a grandma now. It's never bothered me because that's what he wants. Like, he doesn't want me to put box dye in my hair. So I don't ask. It's just, I'm just going to age gracefully. And, I'm going by his wishes. Well, Abby really wants it. And so she got him to consent to that. And I was the same thing. I'm like, babe, she's going to be married next year. If the guy that she's in love with is fine with it, and he is, I said, it's kind of going to be up to him from here on out. I said, I know, but the fact was nice. She's 20 and a half and she still wants her dad's blessing on it. So he consented to both those things. But I just told him, we have really good adult daughters, and the fact that they want your blessing before they do this, I mean, that speaks a lot to their character. It speaks of their relationship to you. So, he gave his blessing for both those things. So we've always had a strong marriage. We've always been united whenever it came to any decision. I don't go behind his back and let the kids do things. I'm not like, don't tell dad. I think that's one of the worst things you can do to undermine your husband's leadership, is by telling the kids, we're not going to tell dad that we let you do this. Don't tell dad you did this. Don't let him, I let you. We're united on all the decisions we make regarding our kids. We've always put God first. We've always put ministry after God, and we've always had our family involved in ministry along with us. And then, we've always gone forward, even when things are tough. We've had a lot of tough ministry years. Yeah, we've been stabbed in the back by people. Yeah, we've had horrible things being said, but that doesn't define our ministry, and it doesn't define our attitude towards ministry. We have been told that we shouldn't invest in people because people are a poor investment and they're just going to turn on us. But we are not doing it necessarily. We love the people. We love everyone here, but we're doing it for the Lord first and foremost. If we can help improve someone's life, all glory goes to God. So we're doing it first and foremost for him. So if people hurt us, they hurt us. That's just par for the course. It's not going to make us bitter. It's not going to affect us loving other people or us investing in other people. That's not going to make us bitter or have a bitter mindset towards the ministry. So we've always taught our kids that we keep going, even when things are tough, even when we have low days, even when we have hard days, even when we have bad days, we keep going. And then, we've had grace with other people. Forgiveness goes a long way. And you are the best example for your kid in all these areas. So if you forgive other people, they are most likely going to forgive other people if they see you doing it. What are some things you can focus on though, or you can do that can ruin your kids? And basically, when I say ruin your kids, I'm talking about affecting your kids' outlook on people, affecting your kids' outlook on ministry, affecting your kids' outlook on things at the church, affecting your kids' outlook on God, affecting your kids' outlook on Christianity in general, affecting your kids' outlook on marriage, affecting your kids' outlook on you. There's a lot of things that you can do as parents. Number one, definitely it falls and rises on leadership. And fathers provoking to wrath, I think, is one of the number one things that turns kids against Christianity, against things of the Lord, against biblical marriage, against biblical relationships. Fathers provoking them to wrath. I think right after that would be moms undermining their husbands, not showing your kids that your husband is the leader, not supporting your husband, whatever he decides, cutting him down, cutting down his leadership, scoffing at him, mocking at him, not listening to him, doing things behind his back when it comes to raising the kids. You and your husband really have to be unified when it comes to raising children. You have to be unified. And if you are just constantly undermining him at every turn, why then do you think when it comes to a big decision in life, your kids are going to have any respect for your husband at all? Or they're going to listen to his leadership, or they're going to follow what he says? They're not. Another way to ruin your kids in this area is by being bullies to other people, showing zero grace, always ready to bring the hammer down, always ready to condemn people, always ready to judge people, just being nasty to other people, calling them names, putting them down, showing them zero love. That is going to transfer to your children, and your children are also going to be bullies. They're going to be mean. They're going to be spiteful. They're going to be horrendous to other people. They're going to follow your example. So I never wanted to raise mean girls. I've never wanted to raise mean girls. Mean girls and I don't get along. And when I say mean girls, I'm not talking about someone who's honest. Okay. Oftentimes, honesty and kindness is equated to being mean, but being honest is not being mean. But how you are honest can come across the wrong way. If you are constantly calling people names, cussing them out, you have a nasty spirit. You keep track of every wrong that someone does to you. And when the time is right, you bring up those things, right? You share private conversations. You put that person down. You try to poison the well when it comes to other people. You try to make sure everyone hates that person as much as you do. That's being a bully. And I've never wanted to raise girls like that. Most of my girls aren't even on social media. They want no part in like taking play. They don't want to argue with people. That's just not their personality. They aren't even on barely social media at all. But oftentimes how the mom is, there goes the daughter, or how the dad is, there goes the son. So if you are a bully to other people, you're going to turn out bullies. Just bringing the hammer down on every offense, never showing grace, always being ready to judge, being unforgiving of others. Um, you know, so not living at home, also not living at home what you teach others. So if I'm saying all this stuff here, but then I go home and I live completely opposite, that's going to ruin my kids. That's going to give my kids a bad taste in their mouth for anything I'm saying, especially if they were to like watch my videos from years gone by and they're like, mom was not like this. Like, what is she even talking about? Mom was completely opposite of this. That's going to make your kids very cynical. Kids hate hypocrisy. They really do. And then, not having relationships with others or not knowing how to get along with others. My husband is very much a black sheep in the IFB. He has some different eschatological views. But people know when it comes to talking with my husband that he will listen to them. He will not bully them. He will not put them down. He will not call them names. He will listen and he'll have a polite discourse. I mean, he just had on his Spirit of Prophecy channel a interaction with with a Hebrew Israelite. They don't like being called black Hebrew Israelites. He had a discussion with a Hebrew Israelite, and it surprisingly went very well. And the man told him that he had it was one of the best discussions he's ever had with a Christian, someone who considers himself a Christian. He told him he was he knew the Bible very well, and he was very polite. And so he really appreciated that. Most IFB pastors could not have a discussion and still remain polite and calm. So my husband is known for that. He's not a bully. He's able to remain calm. He's able to have polite discussions with people, even if he doesn't agree with them. And we fellowship with a lot of people, even here in Illinois. If you are saved and if you love the Lord and if you are separated and have standards and, King James, we're going to fellowship with you. So, we can find a lot of common ground and forget about those little secondary things. So we have a lot of friends here in Illinois. My kids have seen their dad get along with people who he doesn't necessarily even agree with. And that's great. They've seen me get along with people. I have friends that aren't even Christians. They know that we can get along with people who don't have the exact same set of beliefs that we do. And I think that's really important because it's no fun living in an echo chamber, and it's no fun, never having discussions with people who don't see things eye to eye with you. So, and then never showing love in the home or expressing it, not allowing your kids to go through hard things in their life. Obviously, I skimmed over love, very important, but I feel like most parents, most moms especially, just have this innate desire in us to love our children. And I guess we are in the last days. We have been for, I believe for like 2,000 years. We've been in the last days for a long time, but there is a natural affection. And that's why the Bible says it's not natural not to have love like this, but there is a natural affection in each mom to love their kids. And, but a lot of moms have problems expressing that love. Maybe they were raised in a home where they never said, I love you. I was reading a book. I can't even remember what book it was, but I was reading a book and she was talking about how, she was told that she needs to tell her parents that she loves them. And so she forced herself to tell her parents that she loved them. And it was really awkward at first because her parents didn't do that to her and she didn't do that to her parents growing up. But it soon became commonplace where it was very easy to say, I love you, but she had to force herself at first. So if you have not been raised in a lovey-dovey household or one where you told your kids or you were told, I love you, or you told your parents, I love you. Practice that on your kids. Force yourself to do it. They need to be told that. They need to be told, I love you. They need to be given hugs, cuddles, kisses, all that good stuff. And I think that if your kids know that you love them, they are more willing to overlook a lot of the mistakes that you made, because we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. We all have bad days. We all lose it when we shouldn't. But if your kids truly know that you love them, they're going to extend you grace. And if you extend them grace on bad days, they're going to learn how to extend grace. Don't bring the hammer down on your kids constantly and then expect them not to bring the hammer down on you with all your failures and mistakes as they get older, because there's a likelihood that they could, if that's all that they've known is just boom, 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 just coming down hard on every single infraction that they do. They're going to tend to be that way with you. And then what are some of the insignificant things that people can focus on when it comes to raising kids? I definitely think wealth, acquiring money. Some of the happiest families I know have been some of the poorest as far as like monetary wealth. So I do think that if you have a lot of kids, especially the dads, they're just constantly working to pay for, and sometimes my husband has worked 2 jobs before just to pay the bills, not to acquire wealth, just to pay the light bill. So he's had to work 2 jobs sometimes, but he was still able to see our kids every day, talk with our kids every day, put them to bed every day, tell them a story every day, sing with them every day, laugh with them every day. He was intentional about spending time with our kids. So wealth has never been important to either of us. Even status, a lot of people, even in the Baptist world, can spend a lot of time trying to build their status, whether that's being asked to preach places, going to different meetings, trying to hobnob with the big names of fundamentalism. And the world of fundamentalism is such a small world, but it is a world in and of itself. And there's politics at play. And, since my husband is a black sheep of IFB, he will never be a prominent speaker asked to speak at the big meetings. So for us, it's not even a thing. Like, we're not even going to try. But some people can get caught up in that. And there are a lot of Baptist politics at play. Some people can definitely get caught up in working their way up the status ladder. And then even popularity, just trying to build that. And then also, I think another insignificant thing, at least for our family, has been like a college fund. We have never saved for our kids. And maybe that's controversial, but we don't necessarily have a problem with college, but we've always told our kids, especially our boys, if you go to college, you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to work your way through college. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because it teaches them work ethic. It teaches them real life. It teaches them how to juggle a job and college and tests and all these things. And I think it's good for them. I think it's good to build character. So we've never saved for a college fund. Now, what are some significant things? And lastly, I'll close with this. I think some of the most significant things that you can focus on when raising kids is, first off, you have to have a happy home. That is number one, hands down, the biggest thing. You have to have a happy home. You have to have a home where they're not walking around on eggshells, thinking that the hammer is going to get brought down on them for every offense, where you love them and you cuddle with them and you tell them they're loved and you encourage them and you build them up. Yes, there are going to be days where it's nitty gritty and you have to discipline a lot and you have to train a lot. But overall, your house should be a happy home. You should have a happy home when dad comes home. You should try to provide a safe haven, a peaceful haven, where he's the leader and you back him up, and you don't undermine his authority, and you follow his lead, and you love him deeply, and you love him so that your kids they say all the time, would you guys stop kissing instead of would you guys stop fighting? If you're raising them in a home where there's yelling and screaming and cursing and throwing things and punching holes in the wall and flying objects, and they never know if you're going to be happy with each other that day, or if dad's going to be mad at you or cursing you out or calling you names. It's a horrible environment to raise children in. So you have to be united. You have to have a happy home. You have to give them memories. You have to give them good memories. You have to give them more good memories than bad memories. Every kid's going to have some bad memories. I have some bad memories growing up, but overall, good memories outweigh the bad memories. And a lot of my bad memories just they revolve around the time that my dad was sick with ALS, and then he was dying, and then the funeral, and, loss, things like that. Not so much like most of my memories involving my dad are 99% good memories. Some of the only bad memories I have are just memories of him dying, memories of him being sick, memories of me being a brat, like a bratty 16-year-old girl, when he was dying. So just as far as maybe things I said, or I wasn't compassionate enough or caring enough or whatever. So those are like the only bad memories. He was a really good dad, and I had a very strong relationship with him. So when I got married, I didn't have a lot of that, the daddy issues or baggage. I knew my dad loved me. I knew I was important to him. We would go out on dates, and he would do this with all of us kids. And he would just be like, Cassie, you are going to be such a good wife someday. And Cassie, you're going to be such a good mom someday. And that stayed with me, just those encouraging words from the time I was a 16-year-old girl. When I became a mom, I remember him saying that to me. When I got married, I remember him saying that to me. And I still want to make him happy. I still want to bring honor to him, even though he's been in heaven for longer than I had him. I've always wanted to honor him with the decisions that I made, and the things that I did in my life. And I still remember the kind words that he said to me. So the kindness that you show your kids will be remembered their entire life. You have the power to build up your children or destroy your children with your words. So definitely be very careful with how you use them. Another very significant thing is just loving their dad. Your kids need you two to get along. They need you two to love each other. They need you to love their dad. They need you to respect their dad. They need you to be your dad's, support system, and his peace at home, and his, joy when he comes walking in the door. They need that. They need you to be that for their dad. And then obviously the most important thing is one of the most significant things when raising children is you have to love the Lord. You have to put the things of the Lord first. You have to follow the Lord, love him. If you love me, keep my commandments. You need to strive to follow the commandments, but love more than judgment, wrath. Obviously, if we're God's child and we're sinning, he's going to bring the hammer down. And yeah, that's important for your kids to know too. But it's also important to instill a love for the Lord in your children's hearts, because that love is what's going to get them to obey him more than just hell, fire, damnation, blah, blah, blah. It's that love, instilling that love. And that's why the Bible says, if you love me, keep my commandments, because that love has to be there. Every Christian is not automatically going to obey the commandments. They're going to sin, they're going to backslide, all these things. But if you love him, you will try to keep those commandments. Are we going to be perfect? No. But that love will help us do better. It will help encourage us. It will keep us grounded. It will help us not want to displease the Savior and not want to bring him dishonor. So that love is very important. And I think that love that you instill in your kids for you is what's going to keep them wanting to honor you with their lives. And even though my husband is almost 45 and I'm almost 45, and we've been out of the house way longer than we were in the house, there's still a desire in both of us to honor our parents and to bring honor to our parents and honor them with our lives. And, he bears the McMurtry name. He bears his dad's name. So it's very important that his dad is proud of him, and, he doesn't bring the McMurtry name shame. And I know that's important to our son, and hopefully it'll be important to our grandson too, who also bears the McMurtry name. So, there's a lot of insignificant things that you can focus on. Like I mentioned, wealth, status, popularity, making sure that your kids have a college fund. I think that's insignificant. But I think these significant things, if you focus on those, you're going to raise well-balanced, happy kids, and that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. I would rather build a strong man than someone else have to repair a damaged kid. So I am trying as best as I can not to raise damaged kids. And I think that's a desire that we all have. And we're not going to be perfect. But if we focus on some of these important aspects while raising kids, it will definitely help our chances. At the end of the day, they all have to make their own decisions, but we can provide the best foundation for them that we're able to. And obviously, love is at the core of everything. And not just love for them, but love for the Lord and love for their dad. And that's gonna build a really solid foundation for them to spring off of once they become adults. So I hope that this was a help. I don't even know. I think we were a little bit lower today. There was not much chatter going on. So if you have any suggestions or anything that you do in your home, maybe to help in this area, leave the comments down below. I like it when people comment. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave the questions down below. Like this, share it, subscribe if you're not, and that will help with the algorithm. So anyways, I hope you all have a great week. Go home and love God, love your husbands, and love your kids. And we will see you guys next week. So if I can figure out how to turn this off. Rachel was there for the whole time. This whole setup is like different. So now I'm trying to figure out how to stop it. Usually there was like a little stop button up there, but I'm not seeing a stop button. Maybe just end. Live stream. Oh, stop live stream. There it is. All right. I figured it out, guys. Me and technology, like my husband was saying last week, technology and I do not mix. So we will